Ladies and gentlemen, my name is eSports Money, ZSM, Mac10, whatever you want to call me, and I'm kind of doing this video off the cuff. Looks like the sound is working, everything's on. Today we're going to be talking about some seriously major news in the Dota scene. So we're up to patch 7.06e. Also, before we get into the topics of today's video, a couple updates with me. Probably should just get it out of the way. So first thing is, I've been gone for a while. I am slowly getting back into the groove. I've got to make another out-of-state trip this coming weekend, and then after I return from that, I've got a busy maybe week, maybe two, something like that, getting certain things caught up with work, etc. And then after that, it should be back to normal. I imagine I'll be doing a lot of content around the time of TI, etc. So, second thing is, I had originally intended on this video right here to be the first video where Wired Guitars and I actually do a show. I was hitting him up earlier, but haven't heard back, so I just don't think he's at his computer at the moment. Because this would be a really good. We'd have a lot to talk about here, and I already have a lot to talk about with just myself. So Wired, I know you're probably going to watch this at some point. We'll talk soon. So, two big pieces of news. So Dota 7.06e, and going along with the Wired thing. Wired and I kind of talked about this before, and I kind of talked about this in my analysis of the last patch, that 7.06 was going to be the patch that Valve decides this is the TI patch, and we're just going to add new letter suffixes every time that we make any kind of update. This probably also means that patch 7.07 will come post-TI, and if post-TI we get a 7.06 like G or some crazy way off letter, like I imagine they might even have, they'll probably have another letter added to the patch before TI. I think there'll be at least one more. With the very final patch, if we get another letter suffix post-TI, then that means that the next numerical advancement will be big, sort of like 7.0. So like last year, we went up to 6.86, and I don't remember the last letter we have, but we got that patch in like April, May, March, somewhere in that area, maybe June, but I'm pretty sure it's like May. And that ran all the way through the whole year until patch 7.00 was announced, and we had a 24-hour countdown. Maybe it was 48 hours. I don't remember. It was a short countdown, and we got that. We got so much cool stuff. So, anyway, so today's video is going to be going over these patch notes 7.06e, but first we have what is probably significantly bigger news, and that is the 2017-2018 competitive season. So I feel like this has the potential to really revitalize the community. If you haven't been spending a lot of time on Reddit, or just haven't been just in the know a lot lately, one of the main things that people have been talking about is how the scene has kind of been dying off in terms of third-party tournaments. So like MLG hasn't done an event in a very long time. Last time they did, it was only a small LAN in their in-house arena, which I was actually in that city last week for a work conference. But anyway, so the competitive season changes are trying to fix that. There's also some problems with the workshop ecosystem, and I don't understand these quite as well. I think basically just like workshop artists are, it's harder for them to get something submitted, and they're getting a smaller cut when they do get it submitted. And I think this is linked hand in hand with these smaller third-party events that are happening. So like MLG, ESL, Dream League. ESL I think still does stuff. I know Dream League does because they have an event this end of July, which I'm considering going to, but probably won't. Depends on what money looks like. But anyway, those events used to get outside workshop artists to come in and make them have cosmetics. And again, this is my understanding of the problem with the workshop. So they bring that in. The workshop sells enough tickets that the workshop artists get cuts from that, or they can just do a straight up fee and sell their artistic ability to those tournaments. But because so many good items are given away with the Battle Pass, and because there are not as many third-party events, that has been hitting the workshop ecosystem harder. And the workshop ecosystem is very important because this is a handful, I mean, this is a decent number of people in our sphere that make a living off of our game, that don't play the game and produce their own sort of content. They are a very, very valuable part of what we do. I'm actually friends with Denidum, the guy that made the Hunter of Kings Lycan set on Steam. I've actually played a few pubs with him in the past. Great guy. But yeah, we want to keep the workshop ecosystem alive, and basically having 2 or 3 majors that are like $2 million, like $3 million pots somewhere in that area $2 to $3 million pots, and then like first year we had 1 year we had 3. I think that was I know last year we had 3, and this year we had 2 between TI6 and TI7. That really did a lot of damage, because now if MLG gets $300,000 together, no one gives a shit, because we don't just have this giant TI, but to hold us over between TIs, we actually have these majors where they're a mini TI. You go there, you get 8th place, and you're like, I have living money for a year. Like, it's a huge amount of money. So Valve's answer to this is to hold a series of tournaments, or a series of majors and minors. And what a major is, but what both of these will be, are third-party organizers such as MLG, ESL, Dream League, that sort of thing. They can host a DotA tournament, and they can apply for a major. And if they get the major license, what happens is they have to hold qualifiers in each region. They have to have a LAN finals. And for majors, they must have a minimum of a $500,000 prize pool that the event organizers put up, and they have to house the players. So they have to basically, you get the mini TI, not full, maybe like a first TI, but you're getting mini TI experience, all expenses paid by the organizer of the event. And you have a $500,000 prize pool. And in addition, Valve will match that $500K. So if they go above $500K, I don't think they get any. I don't think that's matched. But if they have a $500,000 tournament and they make all those they meet all the requirements for the major, Valve will give them an additional $500,000 to put towards the pot. So that means we may see $1 million MLG. And if you're someone like me that lives in America, that's a huge deal, because MLG is our esports circuit. They're the only ones that are regularly in our country. Like, I have to drive 7 hours to get to my nearest MLG venue, but it's the big one in Columbus. But it's still, like, that's huge. If someone like MLG steps up to the plate on that, that's awesome. Another thing is the placement and how how teams perform in these major events are going to be put into some kind of point system, and this point system will be the #1 predicting factor or deciding factor on who gets the straight invites to TI for TI8. So this is really, really big stuff. This is putting a huge level of value on third-party esports groups, Beyond the Summit, people like that. They'll now be not just contributors, and this time major contributors to who gets invited to TI, but they'll also be the group that does, they'll also be actually able to hold big money events. And if they don't, then they can host a minor. And what a minor is I'm not sure if you actually have to house the players for minors, or provide transportation money. But you do have to have the qualifiers from each of the 6 regions, and you do have to have a LAN finals, which I believe what BTS does absolutely qualifies as a LAN. And the big key difference there is it's a $150,000 minimum prize that Valve will also throw another $150,000 to. So you can have a minor that has a $300,000 prize. It doesn't say much about battle pass stuff. It doesn't say whether or not minors can have a battle pass. Ticket. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's going to be battle passes for these, or it doesn't say. So if they can actually do battle passes for the majors at the very least, or even the minors, if they sell enough and a chunk of that goes back to the prize pool, which I doubt they will. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to do the battle pass, the compendium, something like that, the ticket. I still call it the compendium, which is now part of the battle pass, but they'll still do the battle pass. And in doing the battle pass, they might not give the revenue backs, because I'm pretty sure for some of the majors they didn't actually they didn't increase the prize pool based on the revenue from the battle pass. But if they do that, you could actually see a minor become a major. So you could actually see these small events just pulling away these two multi-million-dollar events and replacing them with still $1 million but smaller events, and several of them spread out throughout the year, hosted by third-party producers, is probably the best news for the DotA ecosystem we could have asked for. Everyone saw this as a problem. I saw it as a problem too, but I don't think I was concerned about it as concerned about it as I should have been. But I am very, very excited about this. This is something that I could not have. I could not have really given a good answer to how we fix this problem, and I think Valve has given a great answer on how we fix this problem, and I think it will improve the scene in a way that we could never have expected. I think the scene will be bigger and healthier than anyone could have predicted it would be in the following competitive esports year. And for us, it's almost like a fiscal year. Like our esports year is TI to TI. Our next TI to TI period is probably going to be there'll probably be a little bit of growing pains. There'll probably be some things that are sketch. Some events will be like the quality of the hotel was shit, things like that. There'll definitely be some logistical hurdles to overcome. But I think that this is ultimately something that will make our scene insulated as fuck. Like, I think this will make us. This is the sort of thing that we need to make the game strong enough to be that top tier esport for several more years. We already are one of the biggest esports, maybe the biggest esport. We definitely have the biggest prize pool of the year, but we're in the top 3, I think, biggest esports, period. And this will make us bigger. Meanwhile, Blizzard is trying to get shitloads of money from outside investors to put Overwatch on TV, and in a process that might end up putting a seriously bad taste. Oh my god. Okay, we're 10 minutes in. Putting a seriously bad taste in investors' mouths. And it's really, really risky, and it's honestly going to turn out horribly. But meanwhile, Valve is doing the exact opposite, and I think this is really, really cool. This also means that if there's big money investors that are being drawn in based on the new Blizzard Overwatch tournament scene, money market model, whatever the model that the business model that they're using, if people get burned by that and are upset by that, and big money is leaving esports, we won't care because we're insulated from that because of the way this new system works. This is really, really good news, guys. This is the best news we could have gotten for the game, period. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the patch notes. I think I've beat the dead horse to death on how good this is. Again, I'm skeptical on the execution for the first year, but I know that any problems that come around with this are going to be rectified by Valve because they make mistakes, but it's generally due to they're accidents. They don't purposely screw over players. They don't purposely screw over the scene, things like that. So I'm really excited to see that moving forward. So 7.06e. So neutral spawn camps. Gold bounty increased by 10%. So you didn't see a jungling video from me today, but I'll probably have to go back and rework a lot of this is really cool for me because I'll be putting out slightly tweaked versions of previous guides. This means someone like Huskar, which I think is one of the best videos I've made to date. I think that is awesome. Someone like Huskar now, if you're lucky, he could do something like a 5 or he could do something like I think my time is like 6:30 is my best time for Armlet. You chop off 10% of that. 6 minutes in seconds. 6 minutes in seconds. Okay, 360 plus 30 is going to be 390. Chop off 10%. It's 39. So yeah, that will make it so you're at a sub 6 minute armlet from a jungling Huskar now. That's crazy. That is actually gigantic. This also makes it more viable to be farming neutral camps, and I think that's also a big deal because even though they increase the number of neutral spawns, not for like the early game or for what I do, but I think for the mid game and the late game, those are very important. So the Veil of Discord, please ignore the screaming. My idiot friend is taking a shower. So Veil of Discord, recipe cost increase. Also, my birthday is tomorrow, so I might make a video. I might not. Historically, for my birthday, I either like stream all day or I just don't touch my computer. So we'll see. Veil of Discord recipe increase from 400 to 500. I think that's an okay change because, like, I love Veil and I've been an advocate for Veil forever, but I think people are starting to actually use Veil now. Like, Veil's really, like, we've been seeing a lot more Veil. And it's very, very, very good for what it is. And magic damage in general, even though magic resist I feel like magic resist has gotten small buffs in the last couple of years. I feel like magic damage overall is being reworked to scale better. So Bloodthorn, critical strike damage reduced from 1.45 times to 1.4 times. I don't really like that because Bloodthorn is like like super expensive to begin with. Like I don't think that whatever. But I understand that because of how good Clinks is right now, Bloodthorn might need a nerf. Heaven's Halberd, disarm duration on ranged heroes reduced from 5.5 to 5. I think that's a good idea because Heaven's Halberd is an item that I've actually noticed in certain situations that item is like too strong. Like the item's really good. I think the item is too strong in certain situations, so I think that's a pretty okay change. Alchemist, base agility reduced from 11 to increased. Base agility on Alchemist increased by 5, and the bounty room multiplier on Grievel's Greed up to 2.5. Those are pretty solid buffs, guys. These might be. I haven't looked through the. This is my first impression. I'm just looking at the patch notes now. This might be the biggest thing. This is pretty big. This is enough that this probably will put him back in the meta. People are going to be like, well, his illusions don't give you Grievel's Greed bonus now, so when you like Manta Radiance, you don't get the. That's fine by me. This is still, I think, going to make him good again. Arc Warden turn rate improved by 0.2. I really like this change as well, because Arc Warden is a hero that I think in general is pretty weak. And they need a way to make Arc Warden good without making him broken, sort of like how Rubik used to be a top-tier mid, and the way that they made Rubik contain his ability to do most things throughout the game but not be an effective midder was to nerf his turn rate. I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of Rubik. Might have been Zeus I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure it was Rubik who had a specific... I'm actually looking this up. Rubik changelog. Fade Bolt bounce radius. Rubik. So his turn rate got buffed once. Might be Zeus. Anyway, look this up. Change logs. Oh, sorry guys. Ooh, sorry. That's gonna be super loud in the video, I'm afraid. Okay. So I have no idea where that is, but anyway, they did something like that to one hero that was a solid mid in the past, and so improving that will make him more viable overall. Batrider, he'll feel better to play too. He's a lot more fun to play with that at the very least. So Brewmaster, fire, Brewling health increased by 100. That's fine. Wow. I don't know how much I think. I don't know what I think about this. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if that's good or bad. So like Brewmaster, level 25 talent change from 120 damage to 140 attack speed, and his level 10 talent change from 30 attack speed to 30 damage. I'm not sure which was stronger. 30 damage is probably better at level 10, but I don't know about level 25, because the thing is, you're like, both of those things you'll have more of by level 25. So like if you go, like I feel like you don't ever go AC on like Brew anymore if you're planning on getting that talent, like at all, because you won't even notice it, I don't think, because attack speed, once you get to like a certain point with attack speed, if you keep stacking it, you get diminishing returns. And I think you actually get, technically you get diminishing returns the whole way up, but it becomes really noticeable. I actually have to play around with that. Bristleback, base damage reduced by 4. That's fine. Bristleback's been pretty good lately. Chen, Hand of God, heal increased. I'm fine with that. Chen, level 20 talent increased from 90 gold per minute to 120. Clockwork, battery. The Chen level 20 talent, I think these two changes will make... I'd be surprised if we don't see a huge amount of Chen unless we get that additional letter and these changes are rolled back, because... that's pretty good, and Chen is pretty farm dependent. This means that you go for something like you don't Russian Ags on Chen anymore, but you can get a maybe Russian Ags, but this like Chen is a hero that is kind of like an enigma in that he can do a lot with money. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna tell my friend to turn this music off. Sorry about that. Okay, so so the Chen, I think that'll bring Chen back to the meta pretty pretty strongly. I don't think Chen has been bad lately, but with this, like 120 gold per minute is pretty big, especially considering the hero, like, he doesn't have flash farm mechanics, but for support he can farm because of he's Chen, dominate creeps and stuff. So that is I think that will make him pretty viable. Clockwork Battery Assault. Clockwork just got like a series of nerfs. It's whatever. Like, I'm not a big Clockwork fan or player, but I mean that's fine. Whatever. I don't think it'll change too much. It'll change a bit in pubs because he's already really mana starved. So I think that might actually just strip him straight out of the meta, because 25 mana on a strength hero, like he's got kind of like Earthshaker syndrome or Sand King syndrome, where he doesn't have mana. Darkseer's Surge cooldown increased. They're just always going to add small nerfs to Darkseer because he's always good all the time. It doesn't make any difference. Eventually, they're going to be like if you look at Darkseer from 4 years ago, everything about him was 10 times better, and everyone else was weaker. Like, the hero is just like they haven't reworked him, and I hope they never will, because I think he's really interesting the way he is, but he's always good. Like, they just keep nerfing him. Like, if you look at the cumulative changes that have happened to him over the last, like, 4 years, he is such trash compared to his original form, and he's still good. Enchantress, Nature's Attendance, mana cost reduced. I think that's fair. I think that's like if you want to buff that hero slightly, that's very appropriate. Wisp, I also think that's pretty fair change. It's like Enchantress, both Enchantress and Wisp, Nature's Attendants and Spirits started. I'm just saying this if you're just listening in the background and you don't want to look at the video. So Enchantress, Nature's Attendants, and Wisp Spirits used to start at low mana, and then the mana cost gets higher as you level them up. Now Wisp or IO just has the highest mana cost at all levels, and Nature's Attendants has the lowest at all levels. So like slight burst, slight buff, or slight nerf, slight buff. It's fine. Enchantress has, I think she's always been pretty good, or at least for the last couple of years. I think she'll stay good. Wisp, that doesn't change that's not going to affect you picking a Wisp. Like, when you pick Wisp, it's not for his stats. It's for everything else the hero offers you, so I don't think that really matters. LC, press the attack range, cast reduced by 100. I don't care. Sorry, guys. I know a lot of people here, like, you watch my channel because I'm a jungle guy, and so a lot of people like to jungle LC. I don't really care that much. We'll see how big of a deal it is in practice, I think. Leshrac, level 15 talent increased from plus 10 magic resistance to 15. That's fine. Leshrac pulse nova damage increased at levels 2 and 3 by 10 and 20 respectively. So slight buff to him. I want to see it was Leshrac, I think. Leshrac Dota 2 changelog. I think Leshrac was the hero. He was a hero that was like really, really, really good. I think it was when when did they nerf him? I think it was like, maybe it was like 6 point. I'm trying to think of what the TI2 patch was, because it was like a difference between TI2 and TI3. But it should be fine. Anyway, Lifestealer strength gain reduced by 0.2. That's fine. Like, Lifestealer is a hero that is the big nerf to him, where they made it so his the cast range of open wounds scaled when you put a point in it, is like the type of nerf that makes that hero like really, really like hit hard. Because Lifestealer is, he is stat dependent. He is a carry, but he's the type of hero that you don't pick him to farm him and just be a monster. You pick him to kill the enemy's farmed monster because of the way his lifesteal passive works and the fact that he just eats through high strength, low armor heroes. It's also why he really likes minus armor. So like AC and Deso, etc. Lena, so yeah, that's not going to affect him. He's still... It might affect him in situations where he wasn't being picked to counter. But generally speaking, I think Lifesteal is a hero that you pick to either fight off against a huge amount of magic damage or to just like knock over big strength heroes. Lena, Dragon Slave damage reduced. Wow. Her Dragon Slave level 1 got reduced from 110 to 85. Level 2 is down by 20 damage, 15 at level 3, and then 10 at level 4. So I kind of like this because that means that value point is absolute trash now. Like there's no value point to level 1. Like the spell just sucks at level 1 now. Like it's absolute garbage. But it doesn't really make it that much worse at level 4. In fact, I would have liked it if they just left it at 320 at level 4 and just made it a hard-hitting level 1 hit. So her 25 talent was the plus 40/4% fiery soul bonus is now 35 and 3. So that is also, like, I'm not big on that because I'm kind of okay with Lena being like good in the late game and the mid game, but I feel like Lena is a hero that shouldn't be that good in the early game. I feel like in the early game the hero, I would have liked it if they hit her mana pool. Like, just leave her intelligence so the damage stays the same, but hit her mana pool. I think that's the appropriate way to nerf the hero. Make it so you actually have to care about casting spells. Luna, buff her movement speed talent at level 10 from 15 to 20. Buffed her magic resist level 20 talent from 10 to 15. What's her other talent? Luna, Dota 2. It's probably really good because that is absolute shit. It's plus 25 attack speed. So I feel like you go for the attack speed. I think it depends on your farm and what the enemy team is against you, but I pretty much would want to go for the attack speed as much as I could. Like and Howl cooldown increased by 5 seconds at all levels. Doesn't change anything for me or the people that play the hero like me. It's kind of a big deal in pro games because I really like the fact that they've been balancing Lycan around Howl because that doesn't affect the way that I play him. And it doesn't affect the way I think a lot of people play him, but if you take him to the lane and using Howl to last hit and buff your allies when they get into weird fights, you're not going to use Howl that much. Also, Howl is so stupidly good since it got like reworked, but mostly just like buffed a few patches ago. Monkey King, I mean, you're only using Howl at night anyway. So, like, I don't know. Like, if you're using it to the end of a night, I mean, I typically only use it at night if I can help it. Like, I try to wait to do pushing into a night. But anyway, Monkey King, Boundless Strike cooldown reduced from 25-22. Wukong commands attack time interval from 1.6 to 1.4, which is a buff. So I talked about this in the analysis of the previous patch. They're trying to make it so that the heroes that were released at the last TI, specifically Monkey King, who got a trailer at the last TI, is buffed. Because they want them to be in the meta, they want them to be relevant. However, when Monkey King first came out, he was so stupidly broken because he's a melee hero that has 25 range longer than any other melee hero. He's weird in that sense. He's just inherently good. He sucks at neutraling, though, which is, like, I think his biggest weakness. But anyway, just goes along with that trend of trying to make him better, trying to make people pick him. Morphling base attack time improved from 1.55 to 1.5. Morphling that actually makes his base attack, that's pretty serious buff to him because his agility is very high to begin with, because he's an agility carry and he also has the morph either strength or agility. So that's really, really strong. I think that brings him into the game. I think that brings him into the meta. Naga Siren base regen increase from 0.5 to 1.5. I think this kind of goes along with the Alchemist change. Like, the heroes played very similarly, and they don't want to buff the thing that makes... They're afraid of buffing the thing that makes the hero good in this case, because it's so good. It's like you have to tread that fine line. Like, a lot of times you can make a hero worse in the early game, or the mid game, or the late game to balance out. It's like Tiny sucks in the mid game, in my opinion, or early game, depending on your perspective on it. When I say mid game, I mean 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, something like that. So I guess traditional mid-game, 15 minutes, he's quite good. But Tiny's a hero that, because of the way that he roams and ganks in the earlier portion of the game, he's pretty good. And then in the mid-game, where there's like this weird period where you fall off and you're just trying to get farm so that you can be that late-game carry, and he's weird during that period, which is fine. And then when he's super late, he's excellent, and the hero's awesome. But Naga is a hero where she might be horrible in the early game and in the mid game, but she can be so good in the later portions of the mid game and the late and the ultra late game that you can't really buff that ultra late because she's so scary. She can do it's like when Terrorblade was good. So they want to make it so she they want to try to make her more relevant without pushing her over the edge again. Night Stalker base int reduced by 3. Hunter in the Night cooldown increased. I'm fine with this. He's been good lately. Nyx move speed reduced by 5. I don't like that. I think that I don't like it. I think that's bad. Let's leave it at that. Ogre Magi level 15 talent increase, +4 magic resistance. So 12 instead of 8. 350 HP level 20 talent, and 30 movement speed level 20 talent instead of 250 and 25. So Ogre Magi got a buff all around. I don't think Ogre Magi needs this because he's really, really, really good, in my opinion. He's not played as much, but he's very, very good. And I think we'll see more of him because of this. He's awkward the way you play him, though. So I think this might make him a pub monster, and he'll get some selective play at TI, I think. Agility game of PL gone from 2.6 to 2.8. Again, it's sort of like the Naga Siren thing. I feel like Ice Frog's just going like, how do I bring this hero back without making him way too good again? Phoenix, level 10 talent, 175 health to 200. That's pretty good. Phoenix is a hero that is also like sort of on the edge of being too good if you buff her up too much. Just situationally though. So like when PL and Naga are good, it doesn't really matter like who you're playing against if you get to certain times of the game and you have certain items. But Phoenix is like a hero, like especially when I play Lycan, Phoenix's slow is really, really good. Puck base armor reduced by 1. Who cares? Pugna level 25 talent increase from 150 nether blast damage to 200. That's good. I think Puck. I don't have a problem with Puck being a magic monster in the late game because Puck's like a weird kind of shitty hero. Like I think Pugna is just like one of those heroes that's like the opposite of Darkseer. He's just inherently bad in a lot of situations. In more situations than not, I think Pugna is a really bad hero. Not trying to say the hero is like absolute garbage, but I think in most in the situations the hero is good, the hero is very good. But there are very few of those situations, I think. Quap base damage reduced by 4. Level 25 lifesteal reduced from spell lifesteal reduced from 70 to 60. I think that's fine. I don't know if I like the base damage being reduced by 4. That's kind of a lot. That kind of hurts the laning stage a bit. But the lifesteal level 25 is, I think that's very good. I think it's fine. Razor agility gain reduced from 2 to 1.8. You don't really pick Razor for his agility. You pick Razor to steal damage so that an enemy hero can't destroy your team during the team fight. And if you get the Razor in there first, that's why you build Razor tanky. The idea is you send him in first, latch onto somebody, start sucking their damage down, and you send him first because that way by the time he's beating on people, he doesn't have as much damage. And the whole time Razor's sucking damage from him, he's doing less and less and less damage till he's finally irrelevant in the fight. It's also what makes him good against Lycan and other hard-hitting, right-clicking rats. But the thing about that's also why you build him tanky, so that if you keep hitting him, he can live long enough to steal that damage. So I don't think the agility thing matters too much. Sand King Caustic Finale timer damage is reduced at all levels except for the max. It's the same. Timer damage reduced. I don't think that's necessary. I really like Sand King. I see why they want it lower at lower levels because Sand King's a hero that you really shouldn't be putting like. That's kind of a big. You don't want Caustic Finality to be a value point. You want that to be a commitment, or you want it to be that thing you pick up in the mid and late game to get you farm. This also means Sand King is a worse farmer in the mid game, but in the mid game, you're using Sandstorm anyway. So who cares? This makes him a worse laner though pretty significantly. This means you have to put multiple points into. You have to put like at least 2 or 3 points into Caustic Finale if you want to be scary with it, and that sucks. So he's not gonna win any. He's not gonna control the lane using Caustic Finale anymore. Shadow Demon base strength increased by 2. Demonic Purge cooldown reduced from 50 to 40. That's huge. This hero will be all over TI, and I think also buffing Leshrac a little bit is. These are small incremental buffs that I think when combined, you're going to see the Shadow Demon Leshrac combo come back, and that's really scary. That's really, really scary. It's really fun to watch though, so I'm kind of fine with it. Sniper, it's actually one of the more fun combos in the game to watch, so that would be cool to see at TI. Sniper agility gain increased from 2.5 to 2.7. I'm fine with that. I think Sniper's been shit for a long time, ever since the days of ho ho ha ha, so that should be fine. Spectre base strength increased by 1 and level 15 talent from 20 movement speed to 25, so slight incremental buff for Spectre. I don't think this will change her. I don't think she's very good right now. I think she's always kind of in the same place. I don't think that she's ever like too good or too bad. She's just always like kind of in the middle somewhere. Sven Warcry cooldown increased by 2 seconds at all levels. I think that's fine. I really don't want to see more Sven nerfs because I really like the hero and I want him to be... I want to see Sven at TI. I want to see a decent amount of him. I don't need to see him every game, but I want him to be relevant, and I think he's a very fun hero to play, and I think it's good to have at least a couple of heroes that are simple to play that newer players can learn to be carry players with, and he's like the simplest carry. So I'm okay with this because it's a small nerf. Tiny Toss can now throw units to spell immune enemies. I don't think that is a big deal. Tiny Dota 2. I don't think it matters at all because that Avalanche doesn't pierce BKB. Avalanche does not pierce BKB, but this does mean... ooh! If they... What is the building percent damage? Okay, so I'm pretty sure it doesn't damage spell immune enemies. Okay. So it can move like an ally of yours closer to that spell immune hero, which I think is the way it should have always worked, and it doesn't do damage. So again, it's how I think it should have always worked with BKB. I think maybe it's a teeny tiny incy wincy buff. Unless there's some big exploit that I'm missing or big pocket strat that I'm missing, which I could be. I don't think it's anything though. Venomancer, strength gain reduced from 2.5 to 1.9. I don't really like that. I think that was fine. I think he was fine. Visage Grave Chill mana cost reduced from 190. Visage has always been in a weird place, and I don't really think this affects the situations in which the hero is picked or not, or the situations in which he's good or bad. So that's fine. Wind Ranger, Wind Run mana cost reduced from 100 to 90, or no, from 75 to 60. Okay, so Wind Ranger has a pretty solid mana pool anyway, and Wind Run is a pretty good value point if I remember right. Wind Runner Dota 2. I'm just gonna put Wind Ranger. So Wind Run. Move speed, slow, scales, move speed bonus, 50%, evasion, 100%, 3-second duration. Yeah, I think this is just still a sick-ass value point, which we're seeing less and less value points, I think. Nah, I take that back. A few are emerging as some are going away, but I think overall we're losing them. So that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. I'm fine with that, even though I'm not a 100 player at all. Winter Wyvern, Cold Embrace, base health regen increased from 20 to 25, and Arctic Burn Slow increased at 3% at level 1, and then 2% at 2, 1% at 3, and then the same at 40. So slight buffs to Winter Wyvern. I actually got a request recently to make a Winter Wyvern jungling guide, so yeah, I might be doing that soon. So I'm not going to edit this video because DaVinci Resolve is really... Why is there a gnat in my room? DaVinci Resolve is really pissy about really long videos, so this is not going to have an intro, this is not going to have an outro. I'm just going to like shoot it to YouTube right now. So thanks for watching, y'all, and have a good one.